Yeah, they saw it already. I'll give them a talk. They can walk by. Okay. They want to watch again. Great.
There you go.
All right. So the reason we're doing this program is because there was a duel that took place here in the town of Washington, where you are today, in April of 1838. This duel was between Thornton Pinkard and James Slaughter Steele. They were brothers-in-law. Their wives were sisters. We're not exactly sure why the duel happened, but we do know the outcome, and we know a little bit about each of their lives. So after the duel, if you stop by the stations with the red flags, you can learn a little bit more about these people at the places where they once walked in the town of Washington. What we're going to do here is go through kind of the final step of the duel, which is the shooting part itself. I'm going to assume my position as Thornton Pinkard, and then this is Mr. James Steele here, and we have our attending physician, Dr. R.R. Peebles, who was a physician here in Washington and was the physician for this duel.
Down the road.
So I'm going to turn it over to Derek Birdsall, who is the director of the Sam Houston Memorial Museum, and he'll explain kind of more of the rules and what we're doing.
Oh my God. As Tynan said, we're seeing the final step in the dueling process. The steps that took place before this would be pretty long and drawn out, and it would be quite the process, with the intent of that process that they wouldn't fight the duel. There are multiple ways for you to back out without losing face if you're following, according to the official rules. The first thing would be there would be some sort of offense. It could be a major offense, a minor offense, just depends on where you are. What kind of offense would set the duel off. Once that offense was given, then you would see, did you really mean to say that, my wife was fat, or her dress was ugly, or whatever. And if indeed they did mean to offend each other, then both of the principals, and that's what these two fellows are right now, they're the people shooting at each other, they're called principals. The principals would pick seconds, the seconds then negotiate the details, the wheres, the whens, what kind of weapon you're going to use, distance, that kind of thing. And the closest thing you can equate that to today would be like the beginning of an NFL football game. You have the officials, the team captains come together, flip a coin, who gets the ball first, what end of the field do you want. Same kind of deal in the seconds, and as they're negotiating, how close they are, what weapons they're using, that kind of thing. The biggest Hollywood myth that I think you can dispel with the duel is, you don't line up back to back and pace and then turn and shoot. That's very much Hollywood, and I'm not going to say it never happened, but extremely rare that did take place. Typically what you would see according to the rules is the seconds would come out beforehand and mark the spot where their friends are going to stand. Their friends go to the chosen spot, the seconds load the weapons in each other's company so they can make sure no one's cheating when they're loading, hand the weapons to the principals. The official, in which case I'm portraying an official, would count off fire, 1, 2, 3, or it could be 5, or it could be 10, just whatever they agreed upon. But you must take the shot between 1 and 3. And if one of these fellows shot before the 1 or after the 3, they cheated, and it was the job of the seconds to shoot them because they want to be honorable and all of that. So in this case, gentlemen, are both of you ready?
Yes.
All right, so gentlemen, at the command fire, I'll count to 3. In between 1 and 3, take your shot. Gentlemen, fire. 1, 2. And in the case of the duel here in Washington, you can imagine, there's no antibiotics, there's no cure for infection. If you get shot, your clothing now goes into the wound. There's all sorts of possibility of infection. So it'd be a very not entertaining way to live the last few months of your life before. But typically what you would see is, in the case of this duel, this fellow is successful, his friends would gather him together and leave quickly before the law would arrive. A lot of times you would find the duels would take place on the border, on one side of the county line or the other, where it's a little nebulous who's in charge. Everywhere technically in the United States, dueling was illegal. So they would fight these duels just on the outside of the county line. We were discussing earlier, you know, a sandbar on the Brazos River would be a great spot, because who is the legal authority there? No idea. But I think that concludes our duel.
That does. So that is the outcome. So Thornton Pinkard was shot, but he did not die until September. We don't know where he was wounded, but we know that Dr. Peebles was his physician, and we know that his wife remarried less than a month later, which was a little bit fishy even for that time period. She then sold the hotel that they owned for $8,000, which in the 1830s was a massive amount of money. At that time was the most expensive property in the town of Washington. And so it's an interesting set of circumstances that we wish we knew more about, but we know enough about these people that we were able to put this program together. So yeah, come visit us at any of the stations if you'd like to learn more. And
is there a specific location where this?
We don't know. We don't know if Washington had a dueling grounds or not. We're not really sure where the duel took place. Washington was a fairly lawless place in the 1830s, and so it could have taken place really anywhere in town. But I'm guessing it was a fairly private affair because there's very little mention of it. We found 3 or 4 different mentions, but they're all kind of in obscure sources.
How specific was the stance? Were you allowed to just raise a gun and fire, or could you hold it?
One hand,
Kneel?
and you weren't allowed to blade, stand square up, face to face. It was frowned upon to wear a coat, you know, because your coat kind of hides your body shape. But yeah, stand and take it like a man.
So I mean, the rules of dueling were between these two and could be written up like a contract?
It'd be a verbal contract, but yeah.
Oh,
It would be agreed upon by the seconds.
We have found a written agreement, but it was for fist fighting, like we talked about earlier. So it wasn't for shooting or